To all of those who'd asked where I'd gone to, thank you very much. No, I'm not dead. I just got really bored of this sport that I used to love. Too many Twitter wars, too much of news, if you can call it that, just hypothesizing about what might happen. How many headlines start with, this might happen or could happen? And how many of those non-news headlines get made into videos? This is not news. We are just feeding the beast and increasing the likelihood of inactivity, which remains boxing's biggest cancer. There are many channels from the UK, the US and elsewhere that I enjoy, from people who have a unique take on the sport that I want to listen to. They can draw from their own unique experiences. But so many fall into the category, of course, of wanting to push their channel, as you put it. And so they regurgitate what wasn't worth publishing in the first place. What boxers say, do, the bowel movements, it's not that interesting. These are just sportsmen. They are not gods. We do not need to chronicle their every breath. So it was January of this year. I'm feeling pretty disillusioned about everything. I'm like, where are the fights? What do we know? We're here in June. We've already had some meaningful fights that have changed the terrain a little bit in different weights. And we've got some beauties locked in. This could turn out to be, with the heavyweight division or without it, the strongest year since 2017. And spearheading this, of course, is the fight that's taking place July 29th. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. It's finally happening. Yes, it is a little bit too late. Just how late it is and how much the fight is still worth is a question I'd like to put to everybody. What do you think? Both were champions at 2018, weren't they? Once Crawford had dethroned Jeff Horn. And once we got to 2020 and it still hadn't happened and the pandemic, yeah, we all started to lose hope. And was that little 2 to 3 year period where the real prime fight would have taken place? Has it lost something now? Just where it's at. I mean, I'm kind of thinking it's at least 80% of what it would have been at its peak. But what do you think now of this fight? How historically relevant is it going to be? And without trying to be too negative off the bat, I have heard some people say, are these guys just cashing out a little bit now? Because in the press conferences, they already did mention something about a rematch. But trying to rein it back into the fact that we ultimately are happy this fight is taking place, even if it is kind of just 80% of what it would have been, that is still a win-win-win. There were many big fights we didn't get. Right off the top of my head there, I'm thinking Adonis Stevenson, Kovalev. We would have still taken that one a bit long in the tooth. These guys are still full of beans. Crawford, the older man, hasn't really been in many wars, has he? He had that tough one with Gamboa years ago, but just got a bit buzzed. He's mostly been dominant. You got to feel he's a fresh 35. And from what I've seen of Spence, after that horrendous car accident, he still seems to be holding up very nicely, and now is 33. They're not that old, are they? Seems like most people, and probably including myself, are leaning towards Crawford. I'm guessing off the understanding that he's just got a little bit more to him, hasn't he? I think of that kind of clever little counter that he hit Kell Brook with. Okay, yeah, Brook was kind of shot at that point. He was only good for a few rounds. But it's those sneaky little moments, that punch selection, that acute ability to capitalize on an opening, that I think a lot of people think will put this in Crawford's favour. He will begin to read Spence, who will work diligently. He will either outbox him or catch him with something, hurt him. And we all know how much of a vicious finisher Crawford is. That's something I really like about him. I don't mind the fact he's a bit monotone. That goes for both of them. These press conferences aren't going to be anything to write home about, are they? But once Crawford gets going, once he smells blood, he is pretty dynamic. What does make this fight very interesting, though, puts it into that, oh, grown, am I going to say it, 50-50 territory, is that those of us who do favour Crawford, it's not by much. Spence has got those very solid fundamentals. He is physical. You get the sense even if he is finding it hard, he's going to continue to press and stick to his game plan. He's going to try and make it desperate with pace and physicality. And while you may make the mistake of going, yeah, but he's kind of basic, good body work and a good solid jab are beautiful things in boxing if they're done correctly. If he keeps hassling Crawford with the physicality, the pace, the basic good shots going to the head, then the body switching it and not leaving him alone. If Crawford starts to get stressed, we have seen him kind of hurt a little bit before. What didn't he get? Was it that Kavalauskas? Who was it he fought who he kind of got floored against? So he's not some invulnerable iron chin guy. This, of course, isn't any kind of official prediction, which definitely I'll be doing one of those. I am going to be posting more frequently. Historical videos as well, the full shebang. But this is a tremendous fight. We've waited a long time for it, and I think these guys are young enough and just naturally spiteful enough that they are going to deliver with a good fight. They are going to try and win. You know, some people might be having nightmares that if one guy is losing, he's going to shrug and go, okay, let's get it to the rematch. But I don't think they're those kind of guys. Spence is just a real rugged kind of dude. Crawford has that spite to him. I think they are going to try and capture something beyond the money. And whether there's a rematch or not, it will be worth it. But what do we make of this fight? Going back to the question I put to you earlier, what kind of percentage is it still at in terms of relevance? Like prime, how good they still are. It's not Mayweather-Pacquiao, is it? It's not that bad. Maybe closer to Canelo-Golovkin 1, where Golovkin was a little bit stale. What relevance does it still have for you? Who are you picking? And how happy are you to see me again?